R34 artists, what is the weirdest / most concerning commission you've ever gotten? Up is just shopping for an R34 artist. Hello, yes, I'd like to commission a porn drawing of Up coming up with a R34 porn scenario and making a Reddit post to find an artist. I'm not sure where the porn itself is in the drawing, but that's why I'm not the artist here. Reading some of these, some are just copied and pasted from older posts with the exact same question. So good luck finding legitimate ones, Op. 3D animator weirdest was actually very recently. Someone wanted to commission an animation of that lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil sitting on, and I kid you not, Pikachu's face while farting. Still not sure if I will take the commission or not. What are his ancestors thinking watching him jerk off to Pikachu fart porn? Just tell the man that Gmod/SFM exists and I'm pretty sure he could create his fantasies there in about 15 minutes, since there seems to be a model for everything in the Source engine. Peppa Pig getting railed, first person view down onto her. What a terrible day to be capable of mental imagery. What? First of all, that'd be a no. Second of all, would that not just be a vertical line? The man commissioned an image series where a little boy knocks out a squad of female zombies in nurses' uniforms and molests them. Yeah. Playing Silent Hill as a kid fucks you up. Ah yes, the good old necro show to sleep nurse trick. A classic. For me, it's a tie between, A, an anthropomorphic cat conceiving a child with his comatose stepdaughter, or B, a teenager on Tumblr asked if I'd draw their OC being breastfed by an old man. Needless to say, I turned down both commissions. An anthropomorphic cat conceiving a child with his comatose stepdaughter, leaving the what the fuck aside, how do you even put that into a 2D scene? I try to imagine the scene in a 2D still image but can't. Two things: used to do video work for this sort of thing. I got so many weird ass requests. I used to keep a file of them. Long descriptions of women swallowing people like a python was one. Another being having someone slowly turn into an item of sentient clothing, usually a bra, panties or shoe. Second thing from a different source, I have a 3D scanner. Someone with an Arabic email was asking me if I could combine scans and do a 3D print at life size. I can in fact do this. He then tells me wants the breasts of Leanne Crowe on the body of Piper Perry. And that everything should be as they are now, no rescaling. Pretty sure her spine would just snap. I couldn't tell if they were trolling or they actually expected me to be able to book them for this. For some reason I'm far more concerned / confused about sentient clothing than anything else. Thoughtful face. It's intriguing to me that the sentient clothing one is requested enough to have items that are common. I had to draw a Charizard, but, to quote a song, she was riding and started farting. I was like, what the fuck, is you farting? Not related, but the topic makes me think of a guy I met while taking a college sculpture class. I was killing time and taking hours to keep my student loans in deferment while waiting to transfer schools. He was in the class to work more on his three-dimensional form. He mentions that he is an illustrator and brings in some notebooks one day. All of them were filled with big melon-titted, bubble-butt girls in various levels of NSFW type poses. It was good technique, but all I could think was, what is he going to do with this skill? After reading this post, I'm sure he's doing okay. There will always be a market for it. The classic phrase sex sells is indeed true. I was listening to a Japanese animator talk about the plight of the animation business in Japan. Basically, you either draw NSFW stuff all day long and are able to afford a decent living, or you work for the big animators on popular anime and live with your parents. He worked on the NSFW stuff for a few years but said as his talent / fan base grew, the requests gradually got to him and he had to stop, and now he lives with family as he struggles to make a livable wage. The guy works like 12 hours a day too. There's so many fucked up people out there. I have to imagine being asked to make animated CP just gets to you at a certain point, even with you saying you know at every request of that caliber. Not really an artist, but I occasionally write porn captions and used to do commissions whenever I needed some extra beer money. Since I used to market myself as being open to all fetishes, I've written a lot of weird stuff, but the weirdest was definitely when someone commissioned a caption about how a female version of Ice King got strapped into some kind of machine that turned her breast milk into ice cream. I was not ready for the end of that sentence. Sometimes I think I'm into some freaky shit, but then I read this and realize how vanilla I actually am. I used to draw R34, but I stopped after a while because it was too much for me, but I got requested by the same guy if I could draw, bee sounding, maggot sounding and spider sounding, and after that I quit. Smile. I'm scared to ask, but what is sounding? The itsy bitsy spider went up the update. The Hugs award for this comment is hilarious. Update 2, the Wholesome award, really? A friend of mine was doing furry requests to get out into the scene, and 2 different people asked him to draw their characters masturbating in quicksand. Edit, for anyone asking how it works, they're usually up to their thighs in the quicksand. Also thank you for all the likes. If I had a nickel for every time a furry asked me for porn of their OC masturbating in quicksand, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happens twice. Okay, that makes sense. Probably an anticipation thing, right? Like how some people are into balloons popping, but it's really about the anticipation of the balloons popping? God, the human sexuality is amazing. My friend got a $500 commission to draw a furry fucking his own shit. Pretty sure sticking a dick in shit will give you diseases. Did he draw it? I do commission anime portraits on the side, not mainly R34, but back in the first month of the Ebola news there was a bunch of Ebola-chan thirst requests. Lamau, that reminds me of the book that was going around a while back, something about falling in love with the coronavirus. I'm not an artist, but there's this story that some really weird guy on DeviantArt pays thousands of dollars to commission art of various characters buying Wonder Bread. Nothing overtly sexual, no weird fetish stuff, just walking through a bread island buying Wonder Bread. Nobody knows if he has a Wonder Bread fetish or if it's some kind of elaborate joke. All we know is that he pays thousands of dollars for these Wonder Bread images. Edit, it's even weirder than I remembered. Apparently he only commissions white, rich, blonde characters buying entire shopping carts full of Wonder Bread. On occasion he'll also commission a white, rich, blonde character cutting down an entire forest. He doesn't respond to DMs, so don't bother trying to ask him. Not even including the whole thing SMH. He specifically wants rich white blonde women buying Wonder Bread and sometimes cutting down forests with a chainsaw. Wonder Bread marketing team thinking up some new shit probably. Not an artist, but an author. A few years ago I took commissions for macrophilia stories, basically stories where someone becomes a literal giant or is shrunken down, and one day I received a message from this incredibly excited gentleman practically begging me to write a story for him about 2 of his personal IRL friends. This in itself was already creepy and a massive red flag, but what made my skin crawl when the guy sent me actual photos of these people and himself, complete with descriptions about them, what they do, and their names, and the story. He wanted one of them to be a witch who was jealous of his love life and would shrink him down so small that the smell of her feet would make him pass out. Then she would put him in the shoes of the other friend and use her magic to trap him in there so he could suffer in the excruciating smell of his best friend's feet. I'm ashamed to admit I did write it, and it was the last commission I ever wrote for a reason. I hope it's because he paid you well enough that it was the last you ever had to write. At least you saved those people from having themselves involuntarily described to some other artist. Can you draw women with their bare feet stuck to the floor with glue? That was my first commission and I still look back on it like, why did I agree? As a Rule 34 artist, you either set very clear-cut boundaries about what you're willing/not willing to do, or you say F it and take everything that comes your way while never wondering where your next meal is coming from. My GF makes anime plushies like Pokemon for a living by hand, and someone literally asked her to do a Pikachu with a huge penis and a Trico with a hole instead of a tail, and I was as confused as someone can be. She politely turned the request down. Trico with a hole instead of a tail at a Comic-Con. The vendor next to me confessed she paid off her car making Miko from Pocahontas stuffed animals have a fleshlight hole for someone. Guy commissioned her to do several of them. In Portuguese, pica is a slang for dick. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.